So interesting thing here is that we're all in very different time zones, right? So I know that in Korea it's like 8 p.m. right now. Thursday, right? Thursday night.
No,
Still?
Friday.
Oh, it's Friday. Oh yeah, that's right. It is Friday. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. And then Sergeant Thomas, you're in Germany.
Yep.
It's noon over there, Friday, right?
There is.
So this is, setting it up was a little challenging just because of all that. It's 6 a.m. over here now.
Yikes.
So, what we do what we, this is the Air Force. This is how we connect with one another. Because we're all over the world. But tell me, what's going on your side? You guys busy?
Always busy at Ramstein. Number 2 busiest ADC in the Air Force, definitely the busiest in Europe. Yeah, we always got something going on. The legal office is doing a discharge board right now. The ADC out of Spangdahlem is down here. So they're wrapping that up today, I think. And then we got a couple of courts on the horizon, probably 15 Article 15 clients, just another Friday afternoon.
That's right. And you guys only have 2 defense paralegals, right?
Correct. Yeah, we're a 2-and-2 office. So it's me and Master Sergeant Bradford, who I think you know, sir.
Right.
And then our 2 attorneys, Captain Riley Widener and Captain Chelsea Purdue, will be there. Captain Widener will be there for another 1.5 years. Captain Purdue's getting ready to PCS out in the summer. So we'll flex and do what we can.
That's right. Yeah, no. So I asked because I was a defense paralegal at Lackland, and we had 3. We had 3 defense paralegals and 3 attorneys. So I always thought, if another office needed 3 defense paralegals, it'd be Ramstein, I would think.
Yeah, we're trying to fight that fight and get some more bodies over here. But we'll see when the manpower study comes out.
That's right. And who I worked with as a defense paralegal at Lackland those years ago was Senior Master Sergeant Crowell, who's the superintendent there at Ramstein.
Oh yeah, nice. Yeah, it always takes me back how small the JAG Corps is.
That's right.
Sergeant Bradford seems to know everybody. He used to work with Colonel Vernon. He used to work with Chief Reed. He used to work with Chief Oliver. Yeah, he's got an in, at every level.
No, Sergeant Bradford, I think I told you, but we were in basic training together. We were in the same flight. Obviously, he became a paralegal off the bat, and I went to public affairs first. But yeah, that's crazy, right?
It's nuts.
Same basic training flight and end up in the same career field. But
yeah.
And Sergeant Brehm, how are things over there in Osan?
We were very busy when I first came here, and then COVID hit, and we seem to have lost all of our courts, except for one. We just distributed them out to where the victims were at, and all the witnesses. But now we're starting to pick up again, and it's getting pretty busy.
Gotcha. And then Osan. So I haven't been to Osan. I've been to Kunsan. I went to Kunsan I went to teach an ALS class over there.
Okay.
Did you go to ALS in Korea?
No, I went at Whiteman.
Oh, you did? Okay. Oh, so you had to go once you got your assignment to Korea?
Yes. So I actually had to push my report no later than back because Whiteman had a policy where I had to go to ALS if I was going to Korea. They wouldn't give me a waiver. So I pushed my report no later than back a month.
Gotcha. And it's interesting they still have that policy. Most bases do. I'm not sure if every base, but I know most bases do. But they still have an ALS, school in Osan and travel to Kunsan maybe too. But All right. So how do you like it over there?
It's not bad. I didn't get to adventure as much as I wanted to because of COVID. I got here, so COVID hit here sooner than it hit back in America. So I came here straight into a SAB,
Mm,
and then about a month later, COVID hit. So I haven't got to adventure as much as I wanted to.
right. Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah.
That's rough.
I know, yeah, off the bat. I remember Korea was dealing with that, what, January, February?
About February, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was
I
at
was at,
Cadena. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I was at PCC at Maxwell when it started kicking off, and trying to get back to Europe just to go back to work was a nightmare. The JAG school was worried I was going to have to like stay and get like some kind of adjunct assignment position there to be working and not be just eating up my leave. We finally got to ETP up through DJAG. And I was able to get out of there, thankfully. But then, it's the same over here. Everything's shut down, especially now with the new spike happening. Borders are closed. You can't run around. It's kind of defeats the point of being in Europe,
No, absolutely. Which is the benefit that I have by being at Whiteman. I don't know how much perfect place to endure a pandemic.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm kidding mostly because Kansas City is, is an hour away, and St. Louis about 3 hours away. But in the immediate, vicinity, I'm good. But right, I was in Japan, so I was in Kadena in February. I flew out in March. I was supposed to fly out through Korea, but then the airlines were like, no, we're canceling all the flights that are going through Korea. So they had to divert me. They weren't flying through there at all. Because at the time, Korea was like, the place where you didn't want to go because of COVID. And then it turned out that it wasn't. It was probably one of the quickest places to recover, so to speak. In the end, just because of that response was really good.
Mm-hmm.
So what brought us all together really was on an article that Sergeant Thomas wrote. And then where was that article posted initially?
Initially, it was on the paralegal inspiration team page. I was originally reached out to by Sergeant Montero, one of the DPs in the Eastern Circuit, Tech Sergeant Montero, and she was reaching out for articles for a circuit-wide magazine or pamphlet or some literature that she was distributing through the circuit, looking for ideas for articles. And so I had just done that discharge board, and it's like, hey, does this sound like something that you would want in your you want an article for it? Absolutely, yeah, draft it up, send it to me. So I did. And then I had one of the master sergeants at the legal office, Master Sergeant Starr, was telling me, yeah, man, you got to get that out there. You got to get people to see that, because that's important. Having paralegals, being more than just like print monkeys and gophers. I mean, it's we're able to do more, and when we do, we should really get that out there. So I put it on the pit page, and then I put it on the defense paralegal page that we got for JJD. And yeah, everybody was like, wow, that's so cool, like that's awesome, good for you, good job. The appreciation was there, the outreach was there. And we had the legal office paralegal, the case paralegal, was a tech sergeant. She was sitting in the back, and after the board ended and everybody went home, she was like, yo, Sergeant Thomas, I was sitting in the back and I was watching you do opening and I wanted to jump and be like, yeah, but like we're on the record, so I didn't. So now, yeah. It was really cool. And I guess that the NCOs and the airmen over there are like chomping at the bit to get involved like that. Now they want to have that opportunity now that they've, you know, seen it done. And I don't think that it's unheard of in the JAG Corps, but it's certainly been many moons since it happened out at Ramstein.
Right. No, absolutely. I don't think I've seen it personally, but you know, the opportunity was definitely always there to sit second chair and to be assistant recorder, assistant respondent. So I saw the article posted on Pitt, and I was like, this is really cool. So I still intend to add it to the Paralegal Journal, but I was like, we have to do a paralegal podcast on this. But then I wanted the two perspectives, right? So I wanted the defense perspective and the government perspective on sitting second chair. And so that was where I had to, okay, so who's done, you know, a discharge board on the government side, you know, as the assistant recorder. And then I reached out to the losses here at Global Strike, and Master Sergeant Swift mentioned Sergeant Brehm, that you had been doing discharge boards and have been sitting second chair up at Osan. So that's when we reached out to Sergeant Brehm, and then we were able to, you know, now we can get both perspectives. But before we talk about, you know, our duties and responsibilities and what the experience was like in that position, I just want to take a second so you guys can go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay, so I'm Sergeant Jacob Thomas. I am one of the defense paralegals at Ramstein Air Base. Been in the JAG Corps for 3.5 years. Originally came in as a Korean linguist. Did that gig for a while until I couldn't pass the language test, so they didn't want to pay me. Needed to get a new career field, and paralegal was hiring. And so I made the jump over to the base office at Offutt. Kicked around there, adverse actions, claims, and then finally military justice. And then I was in military justice for almost a year when Ramstein came up on AMS. Then I'd wanted to go to Europe since I knew what Europe was. So I just clicked the button. Didn't think I would get the spot, but you know, the stars aligned, and here I am.
That's awesome. Yeah. Did you know Sergeant Venegas?
I do know Sergeant Venegas. I knew him back when he was Senior Airman Venegas. That guy is the hardest charger that I've ever met, and he wins everything. It's so frustrating. Like, I'm proud of him and I'm happy for him, but like, man, it was BTZ. Made staff the first time, got the Levito at ALS, picked up the annual for the JAG Corps. Like, man, killing me. It's very impressive.
That's right. Yeah. And did you know Sergeant Herrick at Offutt?
I did not know Sergeant Herrick. He left shortly before I got there. I heard plenty of stories, but I never got to meet the guy himself.
Yeah, I know he's out to do some cool things as an operational airman.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So Offutt. Yeah, definitely knew some people there. Where are you from again? Where do you say you were from?
Originally, I'm from the Northeast Ohio area, Cleveland, Akron.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Well, good. And I know Sergeant Brehm has won. You know, he's someone who wins quite a few things as well. But just go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm Staff Sergeant Lindsey Brehm. joined the Air Force in about 2016, and I was a pipeliner. So I've been in for a little over 4 years. My first assignment was Whiteman Air Force Base. I was there for about 3 years and then came out here to Osan. I'm the NCYC of Adverse Actions here, and I'm going to Shaw next. I don't really know what else to say.
So Whiteman, I know we know a lot of the same individuals. Just because I came over. What is it? So work with Airman Griffin, Sergeant Miller. I'm not sure if you met Sergeant Hall and Sergeant Matson.
Yes, they both came in about a month before I left.
Okay.
So
right.
Enough to be like, hi, I'm leaving.
That's
and
right.
Kind of left.
Right. All right. So how did this come about with the discharge board, right? Like, how was it a volunteer thing? Did someone tell you, hey, it's highly encouraged, or was it, hey, you're gonna do it? How did it all happen?
So mine, it was a case that they've had for a while, that they were tracking. It was a court-martial that ended up not going to court, but he also got an Article 15 for drugs, and what they were going to court-martial him for, sexual assault. In the reg, it says that if a commander believes that sexual assault has happened, that a discharge is mandatory. So he went to the discharge board, and we were just in our justice meeting, and the deputy was jokingly like, oh, hey, Sergeant Brehm, do you want to do it? And everybody kept trying to convince me to do it, but her, knowing that I wanted to be an attorney, kind of talked to me a little bit afterwards and said that it would be a really good opportunity, a good chance to start, see what it's like to be an attorney. So I said, okay. And that was about a week and a half before the actual discharge board. So I had very little time to prep.
Yep.
Leaned on the attorney a lot, but she's absolutely amazing. And I don't want to say I wung it, but I kind of wung it. Like, I had no idea what I was doing, but experienced a little bit of everything. I did the opening and one of the crosses and one of the directs. So that was kind of cool. And I managed to get objected to every single time I stood up. So that was fun too.
Nice.
That's awesome. I wonder what happens when you get objected to. Like, you look to the attorney like, hey, can you argue back or something?
I was freaking out. And luckily the legal advisor knew that it was my first time. So he kind of like walked me through it, but also gave me enough time to go back and talk to the attorney and be like, hey, what do I say? What do I do? I don't know how to argue these things. She helped a lot.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I can't imagine, like, I'm going in and it's like, object. They're like, what are you doing? Don't object to that. Like, what do I say? Awesome. And how about you, Sergeant Thomas? How did that come about?
Captain Perdue and I were prepping for the case and going through the evidence and looking at all of it. It was a discharge for drugs. A then staff sergeant smoked weed downtown, popped hot, and then when OSI brought him in, he confessed, right? So Article 15, discharge got started, and we're looking at it, he's just like a really good airman, just like very solid, great performer, new father, separated from his kid, and it was under a lot of stress, and he wanted to see if this would help with his stress levels, right? Obviously not allowed, but that's why he did what he did. And we're going through it, and similarly to Sergeant Brehm, you know, I've talked about maybe going to law school and trying my hand at that. And so Captain Purdue was like, you should sit in with me. I said, yeah, no, definitely, sure. Okay, so about this evidence. And she wouldn't like let it drop. She's like, you should do it. You should do it. You know what? You're doing it. You're doing it. I'm going to call the CCDC. You're going to do it. I said, okay, let me get my blues ready. And yeah, and it was similarly, you know, like a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks before the board. We were doing the witness interviews. And she's like, you're going to do opening. And I said, no, I'm not. But I did. I sure was going to do opening. And you know, she kind of helped me put together an outline, and I wrote the opening, and she also had me do direct for our witnesses. I lucked out, and you know, nobody stood up and objected to me. Because we prepped a little bit for it. Like, these are the potential objections, and this is all you have to say. Cool. I'll definitely remember that. Not. So I lucked out and didn't have to, you know, fumble through like legal advisor, ma'am. Yeah. So it all went well. You know, they got up and did their opening, and then, you know, Respondent's counsel can make a statement. Like, oh, that's me. Oh God. You know, so you get up there and you walk to the podium, and you know, your heart's beating 1,000 times a minute, and you can't like think. You can barely force your feet, you know, to move. And I got up there, and I looked at the members, took a deep breath, and everything just worked. You know, it all clicked. They started going, and they were paying attention. They were taking notes. They looked like they were feeling what I was saying. It was really cool. You know, and you walk back to the respondents table on like jelly legs, trying not to fall over. And yeah, it was cool. It was weird because like I thought I did a good job, but like nobody did anything, right? You know, there's no like, hey, good job, attaboy, whatever, because you know, you're on the record. So it was like a weird experience to go do this like thing I've been stressing about and worrying about and, you know, sweating over, and then it's done, and then it's just okay, we're gonna keep rolling. It was interesting. It was very kind of surreal.
Yeah, no, I definitely can't imagine. And then, right, you mentioned members, because in a discharge board, right, you got to have the members, and that adds, you know, maybe a judge alone case. If we could do one of those, it'd be a little
right, yeah.
But with discharge boards, yeah, it's definitely, you know, members in the whole shebang. So, so what did the preparation entail leading up to, you know, to the discharge board and performing your duties as co-chair?
It was a lot like a court martial. It was a little weird though, because I'm used to sitting there with my laptop, taking word for word notes, trying to prepare as a paralegal rather than an attorney. I mean, I'm not an attorney, but rather than preparing the way that they prepare. And you just see a little bit of a different side of it. You know, when you're at your desk, usually doing DTS and all of this other stuff that you have to do to make sure that a court martial actually happens. Instead of doing that, you're actually in with the attorneys thinking of a trial plan, quote unquote. So that was a little bit of a different experience.
Nice. How about you, Sergeant Thomas? What was the preparation like?
It's very, it's a look at another world, really. Yeah, I put it in the article, but you know, we've all sat in the courtroom watching the lawyers do the dance, and you know, we're like, really, that's your response? That to that objection, that's what you're going to say? Where'd you get your law degree? University of Phoenix? You know, we just talk all kinds of crap. But like actually prepping for this stuff, it's completely different. You know, we're worried about the minutia, the paperwork, the behind the scenes stuff that, you know, that nobody sees, because it's not sexy, right? You get up to prep to do the dance, and you got to know your case law, you got to know your argument, you got to know your theme and your theory, you got to have responses to objections in your pocket ready to go. There's like 15 different things that you're trying to do at once, and it was eye-opening for sure. I've seen good openings, bad openings, good closings, bad closings, all kinds of direct and cross. And you just kind of take it in stride watching it. Just like, yeah, that's what that is. Okay, next, move along. But when you're up there doing it and having like that direct interaction with the witness or the members, the legal advisor, I felt like I was at, my middle school talent show all over again. And I was getting ready to do Indian Outlaw by Tim McGraw. I got my cowboy hat on, my boots, nervous as hell. Nervous.
That's right. Yeah, so that experience in court, right? I mean, try to describe it. I know we've described it a little bit, that it was a little bit nerve-wracking, right? You're trying to get to the podium, and, definitely shocking whether they say, all right, respondent, make your argument, or you have to come up and do whether it's direct or cross-examination. But what was it like for you in court? How, now looking back at it, how do you think that you handled, the opening and the cross-examination, the direct and cross-examination?
Looking back, I should not have been as nervous as I was. Absolutely. Because now thinking about it, like, the entire time you're up there, you're just like, oh my goodness, I don't want to mess up. I don't want to mess up. I don't want to mess up. But the only other person in that room that knows everything that is about to come out of your mouth is your counsel. So you're sitting there talking to these members, and you could say pretty much anything that you wanted to say, and they would think that that's how it was supposed to go. And I mean, I was even shocked that I was as nervous as I was, because when I do like public speaking, I'm usually not that nervous. And all throughout high school, I was like in the musicals and stuff like that. And so I didn't think it was going to be anything too different than that. But then when you're actually standing there and you realize that you have potentially somebody's life/career in your hands, it's kind of a sucker punch to the face. And that's when the nervousness kicks in. And yeah, like Sergeant Thomas was saying, I was up there shaking like a leaf. Like, if that podium wasn't there, I would have been on the ground trying to give my opening. Like, oh my goodness. And then, yeah, when you get objected to, it's kind of another, like, you're freaking out. Oh my goodness, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? I don't want to say the wrong thing and look like an idiot in front of all of these people. But again, looking back, those members had no idea what was going on. I should not have been as nervous as I was. And of course, the attorneys know how nerve-wracking it is, because they've been there once before too.
Right. No, absolutely. Yeah, that's good. That's good feedback. Sergeant Thomas, how was it for you?
It's the same at the Respondents Council table. You get up, and like I said, you're nervous as hell, and you're going to screw it up. And like Sergeant Brehm said, this kid's life's on the line potentially, right? Career at least. And I, talking to this airman, I've grown to like him. He's a nice guy. He made a bad call. But he's a good dude, and I didn't want to let him down, right? Part of the theme was like airmen helping airmen, airmen standing up for airmen, instead of just another JAG getting up, doing their job, doing their 9 to 5. This is something different. This is something that people don't normally see, and we really wanted to highlight that this airman was worth fighting for enough to do something out of the ordinary. And so there was a lot of a lot of pressure, mostly self-imposed. Because like you said, man, nobody knew what I was going to say except my counsel. I could have started speaking Greek and they would have thought that's what he meant to do, obviously, duh. And you get up there, and when the panel starts to look like they're paying attention, and like get into what you're saying, especially after a voir dire where they're just like stone faced and you have no idea what like they're actually feeling and thinking. It's a really good feeling to feel like you're doing it right. And then on direct, obviously we had prepped for it. We went through the questions. Maybe not the smoothest performance I've ever given, but I got the questions out. I got the answers that I wanted. And it was fine at the end of the day. One day board. But the biggest like surprise for me, I think, was after both sides said their piece and they went to deliberate. As a paralegal, whatever, cool. They're going to go deliberate. I'm going to go do the 900 other things that I have to do today. When you have had that direct interaction and you're like, there's a direct involvement in what's going on. My brain was going 1,000 miles a minute again. I was nervous all over again. Oh my God, did they understand what I was saying? Did they really get what I meant here? What if they think it was this other thing? Oh God, no. Well, this kid's going to go to jail. It's a discharge board, but he's going to jail. And it was awful. It was like 3 hours. And they came back out and, we stand up and they start reading off, their form and, they recommended retention. And so the legal advisor, closed the proceedings, everything was done. And the kid looked at me. He's like, I don't know what happened. What the hell just happened? I have no idea what happened. I'm like, you got retained, man. Like you're staying in the Air Force. You're not separating. I'll never forget his face. He's just like started to cry. Just like collapsed into my chest. It's like, oh, dude. It was a really good feeling. It was a really, really good feeling.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's awesome that you got a good result. And
yeah.
And I think it's, and you said something key there that I think is important, because it kind of puts us in the mindset of the attorneys as well. It kind of makes us, like this must be what the attorneys go through whenever, the members of the judge are out deliberating, right? Like, oh, did I, kind of running through everything back in their minds. Like, did I say the right thing? Did they understand what I was trying to say? Did I deliver this point the way that I should have? All of those things start, definitely running through your head, but now you can't have a redo, right? It's not like, hey, can we call the members back? I want to do my opening again. I want to do a reopening. It doesn't happen. Right? Like, or I want to close again. You can't do that. So
yeah,
important, yeah.
And it's like Sergeant Brehm was saying, we've done public speaking before. We all do FTAC. We do, maybe you brief ALS, maybe you brief commander's calls, whatever. And that stuff, it's whatever. You do the 137 brief for FTAC and you just go through the slides. It's, the material, it's fine, whatever. There's not real consequences if you screw up a 137. You know what I mean? Even at a commander's call, you could say something stupid to make the commander look bad, and then he doesn't call you back for another commander's call. Okay. But at the board when there's real tangible consequences, the stress is just through the roof, especially that waiting period. What the attorneys do every time they do a proceeding, court, board, preliminary hearing, whatever, it blows my mind how they wrap their head around all of these cases at the same time, and deal with the various stages. One's at a 32, one's getting ready to go to sentencing. It's nuts. It's nuts.
Right. That definitely we can get a newfound respect for the attorneys for sure, because a lot of them are definitely. I know some attorneys that have, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 cases going on at once, and the moment they're done with one, they have to jump into the other, so they don't even have to. You know what I mean? They don't have enough time to process
No.
what they did, what they said, if in one, because they already have to jump to the next case. So, but getting that. That perspective and learning about that perspective, perhaps what they're going through, we can better connect with them and better understand perhaps what their state of mind may be, after a court or something like that.
For sure.
So as far as your open, I just want to ask about the opening. Did you have a script? So did you have like the full script in front of you when you did your opening, and did you follow it to a T, or how was that? Did you deviate from it at any point? Did you try to just go off of your own words?
I did have the entire opening in front of me. I knew that it took me a long time to write, and it was approved by a bunch of attorneys saying that it's a good opening, so stick to it. So I didn't read directly off the page. I wanted to have it memorized, but I was too afraid that I'd get up there and have stage fright. So knowing the consequences if I were to forget something important, even though it's just an opening statement, that is your first chance to open the member's eyes as to what they are truly getting into. And so, I didn't read directly off the paper, but I tried to stick to it as closely as possible.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, that's the same thing. I had it in front of me. I had spent hours trying to craft this just right, thinking about it, because you get the outline, like, what is this supposed to be? You forget every opening you've ever heard. You have no idea even how to formulate a speech anymore. It's all down the tubes. So we finally got the thing written, and for the most part, I just read it. You look up and you make eye contact with the members, so you're not just sitting there reading it like this, and this is the most awkward thing in the world. Thank you for your time, members. Right? But you spitball a little bit. You see how they're reacting, and you kind of belabor a point. Maybe if it looks like they're nodding their head, or you omit something. Right. So when you're delivering it, you spitball a little bit, but much like Sergeant Brehm, I wasn't going to go in there and just wing it and hope for the best, or try to memorize it, and then you leave out some crucial detail, because it's just an opening, but it's my first opening, and so it's the most important thing I've ever done up to this point, right? So I can't possibly mess this up. And now, 1 second.
Yes, sir. So what was your result, Sergeant Brehm, for the discharge?
So he was discharged with a UO, but it was only for the drugs.
Oh, okay.
Which is kind of what we expected to happen.
So it was dual basis for, was it sexual assault?
Yes, sexual assault and drugs.
And drugs, okay, gotcha.
But the drugs were pretty bad. Like, he introduced them to a foreign country. Like, he brought them over with him in the rotator. He got another airman hooked on drugs while he was here. And that airman ended up getting discharged as well. And, yeah. I mean,
so,
it wasn't anything. Like, obviously, he brought some of the drugs into the country. But after those were gone, then he just started misusing cough syrup, like triple C, because that's the only thing you can get your hands on over here, because Korea is so anti-drugs.
Right. Yeah, I know. Yeah, the Pacific, what is it, Korea, Japan, they don't, no way to get any of those things. So did he get court-martialed?
No, he got an Article 15 for the drugs. And then they were going to court-martial him for the sexual assault, and then the victim didn't want to participate anymore. But then they wanted to recommend the UO for a dual basis. And since it's a UO, he was board entitled.
Okay. All right. Well, awesome. So, okay, so when do you get your feedback? What happens after the discharge board after you've done, you know, all the things attorney like, you know, what happens? What happens afterwards?
I mean, if you get the outcome that you want, the feedback is pretty good.
Sure
But afterwards, it's kind of the same as if you're in a court martial just as a paralegal. You sit there and talk about the things that you could have done better, the things that you maybe should have said that you didn't say, or maybe the things that you did say that you maybe shouldn't have. Just overall what you could have done better, because obviously you can't be perfect.
Right.
Just take
Did you? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Did you guys do feedback with the panel and the legal advisor?
No, we just did it with the legal advisor. It was the night when the panel made their decision, and so they left.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Definitely makes sense. Yeah, we didn't, you know, finish at 9 o'clock at night. We were done. It was dinner time, but they hung out to do feedback, and they did recorders first, and then you know, we went in and they were saying, you know, there was overall it was a great job, and that they really liked the client, and so they were really looking for, you know, any reason to keep him, and so, you know, they latched onto the stuff we presented. They're like, yep, no, meets, it's good, absolutely. We recommend retention. The 7 criteria are met. Rock and roll, keep them. It's super funny. There's one panel member, a female nurse, I believe, who was just stone-faced the whole time. I had no idea what she was thinking. We couldn't figure out if we were going to connect with her or not, you know, because she's medical, you know, is she going to be like super anti-drug use, or because she's a mom, is she going to get like the new parent thing, the stress from that? We just the whole time deadpan. And then back in the deliberation, we were talking to her, and she's like, yeah, no, I was really moved by what you were saying. And I just was like, I was super emotional the whole time. I'm like, man, you have the best poker face I've ever seen in my life. It was nuts. And they were talking about how, like the 2 tables, right? The recorder's table was full of stuff, you know, binders and AFIs and evidence, and the audience just looked like crap. Well, it didn't look like crap. It looked very busy. And my attorney, Captain Purdue, is like super fastidious about that kind of thing. You know, everything has its place. I mean, so they made a comment about that. Like, you guys seem way more prepared than the recorders. They were all over the place. And then Captain Purdue was like, yeah, this is the first time he ever, you know, did an opening. And they're like, what? Oh my God, it was amazing. You did such a good job. And yeah, I don't want to toot my horn, but like, it was just a good feeling, you know. It was really good to feel like, I don't know, that I did what I set out there to do. And I made my point well, you know. And then the legal advisor was the same thing. Like, she was like, you ever thought about going to law school? You should go to law school. So it was really cool. It's very rewarding. On top of, you know, getting the result that you want, and, you know, in my situation, keeping a kid, you know, in the Air Force who deserves to be in the Air Force, just that positive affirmation, right? Yeah, that feedback was super awesome, and it really solidified my my desire, I think, to go to law school. Just everybody involved, you know, the captain for giving me the opportunity, the rest of the office for picking up the slack while I was, you know, doing the stuff at the board. You know, we still got folks coming in. We do like 1,000 clients a year, and they just kept coming. Yeah, so Sergeant Bradford and Captain Widener were a huge help. with getting that, that result.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think, it seems like we do pretty well. Just over here, we're 2 for 2, in this choice.
Yeah.
So, got, the result that you all wanted, which is good. And you bring up a good point, Sergeant Thomas, here, that maybe this is something that us as paralegals should be aware of, but it's the little things that court members or just members in general get fixated on, like, organization of the desk. Or I know that we used to have, when I was a defense paralegal, these for our exhibits, our folders would be like these really nice folders. And they were just much better than the government's folders. But things like that, like, matters for whatever reason. They're like, oh yeah, just because they have nicer stuff, or their stuff looks nicer, they're better organized, or they care about, their case a little bit more than the government. Which not always, obviously, it's not true, but it's just how the brain works.
Yeah, it's not what it's what you can prove, right? If we can show, we got the fancy folders and we got the neat desk, whatever. I mean, we'll take whatever advantage we can get, right?
Yeah. But it's definitely also a good, since both of you mentioned that you wanted to be attorneys in the future, then this is definitely something, a great experience to have, and to kind of get your foot on the door and see what it's like, see what the feeling is like. Is it something that is that truly something that you want to do, or is it whether it is that you want to do trial law or what else? So my next question then is going to be, number one, do you recommend other paralegals to have this experience, and number two, what's your advice to them?
So absolutely, especially if they have the interest of being an attorney. This is absolutely something that they should do, so that way they can get a feel for it before wasting 3 years of their life at law school to find out that they don't like it. But if they are terrified of public speaking, or anything like that, then probably don't force them to do that. It's pretty terrifying. But yeah, absolutely. But for anybody who does do it, like I said earlier, don't put so much pressure on yourself. Yes, you are either the only hope for that airman or the only hope against that airman. So try not to let that weigh on you as much, and just go in there and relax, because your best product is going to come out when you are relaxed. Keep in mind that nobody else knows what you are about to say. The members have zero idea of what is going on. So unless they've been on every court martial, like every discharge board beyond the moon, they have no idea what's going on either. So relax. Don't put so much pressure on yourself.
Good.
Definitely. Yeah. I think every paralegal should do this, or something similar. You make a great point about the public speaking piece. Definitely don't throw, like a terminal introvert into the courtroom and try to make them do the dance. But there's so much more that we are capable of doing as paralegals. I can't stand this preconceived notion that I see in some parts of the JAG Corps that we're gophers and copy monkeys. Like, go put the sentencing package together, take the first, look at the LOR response. Like, I ain't past the bar, but I know a little bit. We can be more than that. So when opportunities like this arise, even if you don't seek them out, I won't go that far and just seek change, whatever. But like when you get the opportunity to do something, capitalize on it. Not only does it drastically change your point of view and the paradigm of how you prep for these things, but there's so much opportunity for professional and personal growth doing something like this. It's difficult. It's scary. It's very stressful. I didn't eat for a week. It was awful. But that discomfort that you feel when you're doing something is called growth. I am better for the experience. I think Sergeant Brehm would agree. I would do it again in a heartbeat. Nervous though I was, sleep deprived though I was, I would 100% do it again.
That's right. No, that's great. That's really good feedback. And there's a lot of things that I took away from that. Number one is that we have so much more to offer, right, as paralegals. And that is so true, whether it is providing some advice or just providing our input to the attorneys on any given case. Sometimes we're just waiting for people to tell us what to do or what, what's the next step, or, hey, what's the decision going to be? And not that we're decision makers, but we definitely have our own line of thinking and our own opinion on any given case that we can share with the attorneys, and also anticipate what the next step is going to be. And there are other tasks that make us grow, like the proof analysis. To me, is one of the things that we as paralegals can do very well, because it definitely challenges to think outside the box, to anticipate what is going to be a defense, like a potential defense to any given element, right? Like, we can do those things, and the more that we do those things, the more familiar we're going to be with the overall UCMJ, with the military rules of evidence, with the rules for court martial. Like, because I think most paralegals, they hear RCMs or MREs and we're like, what? You know what I mean? Like, what's that? But if we do these things, then we are just becoming overall better paralegals and overall better thinkers. Because I think we're used to, and depending on where we go to school, not saying that, our school system, not trying to get into there, but we're not really challenged, I don't think, to think. Like, we're just told what to think. We don't really, not necessarily teach us how to think. But this is an opportunity for us to, like you said, step outside our comfort zone and think for ourselves. And the public speaking, I think if you're an introvert, this is perfect, because again, you're doing something that is taking you outside your comfort zone. Like, and for instance, I'm just putting myself out there, but like being an ALS instructor, and I consider myself an introvert, but I knew that I was lacking in that area. So, sometimes you just gotta give yourself that challenge. Because like you said, Sergeant Thomas, that's how you grow, is by stepping outside that comfort zone.
Definitely.
So, well, awesome. Any other information that you like to say, or something that you haven't said about your experience as second chair or as assistant recorder respondent?
It's not as much different as you think it might be. Sitting there watching them, you kind of know what to expect. It's just getting out of your own head.
Yeah.
Because as paralegals, we're sitting there paying attention to the numbers anyway, like writing down anything useful for the attorneys, like whether a member makes a face at something, anything useful that the attorneys could use and should address. It's different when you're sitting at the table trying to pay attention to that as well, because you are trying to pay attention to not only what you're doing, but everything else in the room at the same time, which makes it a little bit more stressful as well. But yeah, you just got to go up there and you need to trust your counsel 100% and trust that they'll have your back. Because, I really hope that they would. It didn't, but yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point, Sergeant Brehm, and especially when it comes to voir dire, because like you said, the attorneys are just paying attention. They might be nervous as well, right? So they're dealing with nerves. They're worried about what they're supposed to ask, what they're supposed to say. So they're going to miss a lot of those, whatever cues that the members may offer, where you can make a decision as to how to challenge them. But we're sitting in the gallery and we're offering, and we're paying attention. We're not dealing with the nerves that they're dealing with. We're not dealing with, what's the next question going to be? So we're definitely more helpful when it comes to providing information with voir dire.
And doing this experience kind of showed me how important us as paralegals are sitting just back in the audience, paying attention to everything that the attorneys can't pay attention to, because you are so focused on what is in front of you that you lose sight of everything else around you. So being that paralegal that sits there and pays extra attention to what a witness might say, or paying attention to the members while a witness is talking, paying attention to how the accused reacts to what a witness might be saying, or if the victim is on the stand talking, so on and so forth. Giving that input, or even if you notice something in the evidence a little bit different than the attorneys do, it is so important to bring that up, because it could be a game changer for how you address the next portion of the questioning or closing, or so on and so forth.
Absolutely, yeah, that's really good feedback.
Definitely. With the process like this, going through the board, I think that it can help kind of close the gap between paralegal and attorney. Paralegals, for all intents and purposes, we're legal professionals, but we're lay people, right? We didn't go through the fancy, law school. We don't have the big degree in Latin on the wall. We don't have the benefit of that formal training. And neither do these panel members. They're like a medical officer or a maintainer or, a cop or whatever they are, but they don't think the same way that the attorneys do. And your paralegals are kind of an in-between. But I've got a super good idea how a layperson thinks. Having been a layperson for most of my life, how the attorney thinks is going to be different, and to kind of like wrap their head around what the panel is thinking is an invaluable part of what we do, right? We give that kind of lay perspective. And to do the discharge board, you get more of an eye-opening experience into what the attorney is doing and thinking. So you can bring that to the table and be like, look, I know where you're going, ma'am, but they don't know where you're going. So maybe what about this, that, and the other? And it goes to what you said, ma'am. It'll frame how you do voir dire. It'll frame how you answer or do direct or cross, or how you're going to object to something based on whatever, right? And going back to what you said, sir, where a lot of paralegals might hear like, oh, that's 412 evidence, or, well, 307 applies, and well, what about the 6B rights, whatever. And just, it's alphabet soup. I know I'm like that. Like I got to crack open the MCM and figure out what the hell anybody's talking about. But doing stuff like this helps you to, like I said, think more like an attorney and understand those references and what they mean. And it's almost like speaking another language when the attorneys start talking amongst themselves, doing theme and theory and case prep. But to be able to be a part of that and just be another ear in the room, or another another point of view, it's only going to benefit the case. I can't think of one negative impact of having a well-informed and well-trained paralegal offering advice and offering, their thoughts.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that just like you said, I think this experience not only makes ourselves better, but it makes the whole office better, the whole Jack Corps better, right? Because now you have more people, who are capable of doing different things, who can connect with, across all the different components of the Air Force, right? So, enlisted connecting with officers, and we already connect pretty well with, with most civilians. So yeah, I think this experience is just, if you have the opportunity, take advantage of it, because it's definitely value added for sure. Well, Sergeant Brehm, Sergeant Thomas, thank you so much for agreeing to do this. I really do appreciate it. I know it took some time for us to all get in sync, just because of the time differences. But I do appreciate you taking the time and for us to discuss and talk about your experience in the discharge board.
Thanks for talking to us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for thanks for giving us the opportunity. I definitely appreciate you and Sergeant Quinto reaching out and proposing the idea. So thank you.
Absolutely. What's the plan for the weekend? What are you guys up to? Working this weekend, Sergeant Thomas.
Always. Board, court coming up. Yep.
Nice. Well, not nice, but well.
I'm sure I'll get a little me time in there somewhere. I'll play video games or maybe walk around my village, as long as that's still allowed.
That's right. You live off base.
Yeah. I live in here in Germany. It's not like in the States where there's like the city and then like the rings of suburbs. There's like a small city around here, Kaiserslautern, and there's like little villages kind of like dotting the surrounding hills. It's super picturesque and cute. And yeah, I live in a little village.
All right, that's nice. How about you, Sergeant Brehm? So you live on base, right?
Yes. I literally came at the worst possible time because after me, all NCOs got pushed off base. So I'm here in the dorms with all the airmen, and yeah, so that was fun. But CE is having a haunted house this weekend, so me and some coworkers are gonna go try that out. They're having a bowling special, so we're gonna try and do that, and then just hang out, watch Hocus Pocus. It's Halloween. That's a must.
Nice. Yes.
That's right. So, question: Nightmare Before Christmas, is that Halloween or Christmas movie? I'm conflicted.
That's a Christmas movie. Ain't no Halloween movie. It's a Christmas movie with a skeleton in it. That's it.
Oh.
Well, the main song is "This Is Halloween." It's not "This Is Christmas." You know what I mean?
I don't know. We always watch it at Christmas.
Regardless of your input, I will be watching that for Halloween.
Very well, sir.
See, but that's the beauty of the movie. It's so good that you can watch it for 2 holidays.
That's right. Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. That's right. There's not that many movies that are like that are interchangeable, and you can convert them into Halloween and Christmas movies.
2 of the best holidays in one movie.
That's right. There you go. Yeah, that's why it's so good. So awesome. Well, you guys have a great weekend. Sergeant Thomas, don't work too hard. So you have a good night.
Thank you. You as well. And sir, you have off today, aren't you?
Kind of right. So it's a wing down day. Yes, it is. However, I'm still working.
Yeah.
Well, don't work too hard.
That's right. Yeah. Maybe not as hard as Sergeant Thomas, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Take care.